Hello everyone, my name is Prantu. I'm honored to be presenting my research entitled Folk Music Heritage Conservation through Adaptive Reuse of Hason Raja's Residence. Hason Raja was not only a mystic poet but a zamindar or landowner and a musical visionary from Sylhet, Bangladesh. Born along the serene banks of Surma River in Sunamganj, his songs still echo in the voices of bauls and fakirs. Yet, while his words live on in oral traditions, the physical space that shaped him is fading. This research aims to revive his legacy, not just through preservation of his home, but by transforming it into a living archive that celebrates intangible cultural heritage through architectural conservation and placemaking through memory landscape. Let me first introduce you to the Hassan residence. It is located in Bangladesh, more specifically in Sunamganj city, a low-rise riverine town shaped by tin-roof homes and seasonal floods. His house is perched on the edge of Surma River, surrounded by layers of memory, from ancient trees to decaying stone paths to the pond where he once composed songs. The compound contains two structures, the main house and an outhouse. The site has expanded over the past century with additional buildings made by his descendants, forming an organic timeline of architectural evolution. At the center lies his pond, where he sat, reflected, and composed some of his most powerful songs. His ancestral house and adjacent outhouse overlook the river, connected by a Mughal-era arched wall and gateway. The surrounding landscape is dotted with century-old trees and stone-paved walkways, a living archive of time and memory. This is not just a site of residence, it is a site of reflection, composition, and enlightenment. The challenge is to preserve this atmosphere while preparing it for contemporary cultural engagement. He lived two lives at once, one as a landlord ruling with responsibility, and the other as a mystic poet constantly seeking the spiritual truth. His works not only confined to papers or performances, they were spiritual revelations. Three core aspects emerge from his legacy: his personal life, his lived experiences, family, and riverine routine; his literature, the lyrical, philosophical, and expressions embedded in his songs; and the philosophy, a Sufi worldview where the material dissolves and the soul journeys towards the divine. This duality inspires our architectural narrative where form and void, built and unbuilt, sacred and mundane must coexist. Hasan Raja has inspired in all sorts of folk culture throughout Bangladesh, resulting in community gatherings running his legacy through generations, from which we can understand his literature and extract architectural narratives. To design with depth and accuracy, a layered qualitative methodology was adopted. First, archival research through family records, heritage maps, and historical texts. Then, site documentation with sketches, photo surveys, and material studies. Then, oral histories from locals and performers that helped us understand emotional associations of Hasan Raja with this space, and hence we can come up with a hypothesis. Comparing the Hasan residence to traditional Bangla houses patterns in this area, we see a common Bangla structure and composition with the outhouse and in-house separated with a buffer and secluded private and public entries. Here are some baton structural proofs of this heritage site. These are almost 100 or more years old. We also conducted a community survey during Hasan-related events. The data showed that most visitors were above the age of 40 and came primarily from Sylhet, revealing a strong generational connection to this heritage. This insight drove one key message: heritage must be transferred and translated for the future generations, not only preserved but made participatory. Now, let's move on to the proposed conservation strategy. This includes three main integrated approaches: reviving the authentic architectural features, especially the Mughal arches, the original plinths, the houses through restoration, adaptive reuse, repurposing decaying structures into galleries, pavilions, and learning centers, and the community engagement, hosting music festivals and educational workshops to ensure the site stays alive. This whole approach aligns with the UNESCO Intangible Heritage Conservation Framework, and it emphasizes a value-based, inclusive conservation. Hence, before asserting programs and activities for adaptive reuse, a thorough assessment is done to understand how each structure relates to Hason Raja historically, aesthetically, and culturally, according to his memories, his lifestyle, and his philosophies. The envisioned visitor experience follows a spatial narrative. The journey begins in a buffer zone filled with open-air musical performances inviting local interactions. It leads into a museum and gallery space narrating Hassan's life, his songs, and his spiritual journey, then comes to a heritage trail guided by memory maps leading to archival spots like the preserved plinth and the writer's platform. The trail culminates at contemplative spaces by the pond, the trees, and the river, mirroring Hassan's transition from social duty to spiritual retreat. The entire journey invites the visitor to shift from a community to contemplation, from sound to silence. This idea is to leave the edge of Surma River to local practitioners that conserve the heritage built forms and then integrate new structures and revive the memories of Hasan Raja on this site. The site needs different types of spaces with an integration of natural and artificial setting to experience all different modes of spaces, from public gathering to private spaces where they reflect upon themselves. The architectural interventions should be kept sensitive and reversible. Peripheral slabs that guide visitor flow while preserving old foundations, interpretive pathways which use etched lyrics and lights to tell the stories, reversible installations like modular seating and shade structures which allow seasonal transformation, invisible foundation that allow the structural support without disturbing the ground, and the design must also include memory landscape features such as tree-lined corridors and softscape edges inspired by metaphors in Hassan's songs. The site also integrates a music school where local bowls can continue their tradition and open performance zones for regular events throughout the year. Through this journey of interpretation and revival, we are not merely conserving a building or a poet's home, we are preserving a live music heritage, a spiritual dialogue, and a cultural rhythm that still pulses through Sylhet's souls. Hasan Raja's residence becomes more than an archive, it becomes a memory landscape where silence, song, and space coexist, keeping it alive for the next generation. Let this not only honor Hasan Raja, but also inspire us to safeguard the intangible legacies of other Baul, Fakir, and other mystics like Lalon, by rooting them in space, time, and the collective memory. I end this with the quote of my favorite storyteller, Shakespeare, which says that we are all driven by the powerful force of imagination, so it is all as we imagine. Thank you.